and that data in Excel so they have a single view, 80% of it. Now you can imagine if you're in IT and you're working on governance and you want data to stay in one place and you have a bunch of analysts copying and pasting that data into Excel, sharing it within the organization, it's a governance nightmare. So this is what we want to try to avoid with Alteryx. But I think the really scary number is this one, $60 billion. So IDC did an analysis of very heavy spreadsheet users. Now this is for North America. The number was about 40 billion for Europe. Apologies, they didn't have anything for Asia Pac, but I can't see it being any less. What they figured out was they have 5 million very savvy spreadsheet users spending at least 1 day a week, 8 hours a week in Excel doing mundane tasks, copy, paste, VLOOKUPs, all those things that anybody in Excel has used, joins in there, trying to do pivot tables. They're doing all these mundane tasks in Excel, and it's wasting tons of money. These are valuable resources. I think IDC said, that 8 hours a week over the year is worth about $12,000, right? And then when you multiply that by 5 million users, you're getting huge numbers like wasted resources. Now, I don't know about you, but if I go back to my CEO and we start budget planning, and I tell him, hey, we've got a budget about $2 million for mundane tasks in Excel, I'm not going to last very long. Now, it sounds funny, but this is happening in organizations today. And the problem is they just don't know it yet. This is going to be coming more and more to the forefront. And that's why I think we're going to see changes now with Alteryx. So another customer example, Ford, very progressive auto organization. We worked with Ford to arm an analytics team. They decided to combine their data scientists, which is rare, with their line of business analysts. They have 500 data scientists, 500 analysts. They made a team of excellence, and they armed them all with Alteryx. And to give you an idea, because we're at a big data conference, Ford uses some massive data. A lot of it's to collect information, machine information from their cars on the roads, from all the supply chain management they do. They told me about a Hadoop cluster they have, and I'm not super techie, but it sounded big to me. They've got a cluster that's running 7,500 cores, 300 nodes, 90 terabytes of RAM, and 7 petabytes of data. That one Hadoop cluster basically takes all the machine data from their cars on the road. So that's the type of data they're dealing with and working with Alteryx. And they had 3 really cool use cases I'll bring up. The first one is they examined the machine automation using Alteryx and some predictive analytics in one plant. And in that plant, with the changes they were able to make through the examination, they were able to increase car output by 7 cars per hour, just for that one plant. As you can imagine, these plants run almost continuously, and the amount of cars now they can produce extra in that time frame is a massive benefit to them. An even bigger savings was supply chain management. So I looked over the list of attendees here, and there's a lot of companies on the manufacturing side where supply chain management is a big deal. Now, Alteryx has some great tools, some great predictive analytics around supply chain management. Ford put those into place, and they estimate this year they're going to save about $100 million through the changes they're making through these analytics on supply chain. That's a big number, very cool thing to talk about, but the one that I thought was very interesting, and I would never even thought of this as an analytics play, but every dealership that Ford gets a car from when it's a new car, they have to take the car for a test drive. You can't sell the car without at least taking it for a drive, putting gas in it, testing it out to a proper level. Now, I have no idea how they do this. All the dealerships were just kind of doing it willy-nilly, picking a route, doing this. They used Alteryx geospatial analysis to map out the routes of each dealership, and they optimized those routes through this geospatial analysis, And believe it or not, they saved $30 million in costs just by telling dealerships how to drive the cars when they come to the lot. I would never have thought of that, but yeah, it saved Ford $30 million. So when you look at all these use cases and all the money saved, it pays for these 1,000 analysts and this analytics excellence team over and over. And that's why Ford is investing so heavily in analytics in this space. So as you can tell, the data volumes that our customers use are tremendously big. Ford was an example. I met with Experian, who's here, right? Experian is a big partner of Alteryx, also one of our big customers. You can imagine Experian is in the business of data, and they use Alteryx across the board to help manage the data sets that they share and sell to their customers, to fill in gaps in that analysis. So what we're seeing in the marketplace, and I'm sure you guys are seeing it as well, is the rise of Hadoop, right? We saw it, years ago with the rise of applications in laptops and desktops, with the commoditization of RAM and processors, allowing more work to be done in these systems. Now we're seeing commoditization and a lower cost hardware for storage. And that's really where we've seen the rise of Hadoop come into play. People are investing massive amounts of money in Hadoop. They're throwing data into Hadoop, building data lakes, which is great, right? But analysts need access to this data as well. It can't just sit in the cloud, sit in a silo, collecting there without proper analysis. And that's an area where Alteryx can help, but it's a tricky spot. If you look at this slide, you've got IT in the middle, and IT is concerned about governance, IT is concerned about security, and they want to make sure that they can control and access that data. On the top end side, you have data scientists. Now, data scientists want flexibility, right? But they also need the scalability and the processing power, because they're doing very large analytical processes that takes lots of memory and lots of processing power. Now, when we get down to the business analyst, right? The business analyst just views this type of Hadoop data as another data source they need to access. It's not, it may be special in the way that it's being utilized in other areas, but to an analyst, it's just another place to connect to get data. And then able to get data from there, they need to then connect to, Salesforce. They need to be able to push in an Excel spreadsheet. That's all part of the package. So that's the balance that IT plays. And we really believe that, Alteryx can help with that. I can go into detail, but Alteryx connects to multiple Hadoop data sources, whether it's Impala, whether you're looking at Hive, if you need to access Spark. We give the analyst sitting, with a laptop or a desktop the ability to call into that database. From there, they can start to blend in other data sources. So typically how a lot of tools work is if you want access to the data source, you have to pull it in memory. Now you could imagine if you've got a large Hadoop data source with gigabytes of data, it's not too handy to start pulling that into memory. Well, Alteryx takes advantage of some of what we call our in-database tools that allow you to blend data into Hadoop versus bringing it in memory. So you can stream different sources of data. Say you wanted to put that Excel spreadsheet and blend it with some data in Hadoop. You can stream that in with Alteryx. That way you leverage the power of your Hadoop investment, but give the line of business analysts the ability to blend that all together. And we do that through a series of in-database tools, which will allow you to stream that in seamlessly for the end user. So we have organizations all over the place where you have a business analyst sitting at their desk doing this type of data blending in Hadoop without having to need any help from IT, or as long as they have permissions to go in there, they can do that with Alteryx, which is giving them more power, more flexibility to do that data analysis. So we consider our users modern heroes. This is an example of some of the customers we touch, and we see some of these customers here today. But the bottom line is, The users that we talk to love us, right? They come up to me, they say, hey, you make my life easier, my job's easier, I'm able to provide better analysis up the chain for my management team. I mean, sometimes it goes to extreme. I had one user say, he said, I love my mother, but I absolutely love Alteryx. Well, he actually used a swear word, but I'm not going to say it here. But he's just a huge, huge user of Alteryx. Absolutely loved it. So this just gives you an idea is our users are passionate about it, and we're trying to make them heroes in the organization. So the final use case I want to talk about is Southwest, right? So Southwest is huge, the largest passenger airliner in the US. They also have the biggest fleet of Boeings. You know, along with supply chain management and access to all the data and everything they do, one of the big things Southwest have found is that 27% of their operating cost is due to fuel. Bottom line, that's just an expense across the board that the airline has. So anything they can do to optimize that fuel saves their money right off the bottom line. The challenge with Southwest is they have about 100 airports that they fly to, the largest fleets of planes, and they have to figure out how much fuel they need on planes, but not only that, how much fuels need to sit at each of the airports for refilling the planes, for just in case a flight doesn't work out and has to land elsewhere, you got to have enough gas. Otherwise, they have to go somewhere else to buy the gas at an extremely expensive cost. Kind of like when you rent a car and you forget to fill it up with gas, then you bring it back to the rental agency, they charge you triple. Very much the same for airplanes and airliners when they run out of fuel. So previous to Alteryx, they used to take 3 days and do this analysis once a month. And they would run statistical analysis and predictive analytics around, you know, what flights are prone to fail, what airports should they have extra fuel, what airports shouldn't they have fuel, because fuel sitting there being unused is a cost as well. So they brought in Alteryx, and they were able to build this workflow out. And they reduced the time, first of all, to do the workflow. Once it was built, Alteryx could rerun the workflow in about 10 minutes. But the key thing that they saved money on was, number one, when they ran the algorithm for scheduled flights, they were able to save about, they were seeing a 12% improvement in operating efficiency, which is good. It's not outstanding, but it's a good result. The key for them was the unscheduled flights. When they looked at that analysis and applied the algorithm that they did through it, they saw a 70% increase in product efficiency. And that is all about knowing where to have fuel in the right places, in the areas that fail the most, in the areas that have cost benefits for doing so. So Southwest was so pleased with running this after 2 months, they now solely use the Alteryx workflows that they've built for this algorithm moving forward for all their air flights and for all their airports. So they're seeing huge value out of this. So I got about, 9 minutes. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed what you've heard today. If you are interested to learn a little bit more, I'd encourage you to go to Alteryx Community. So Alteryx Community is our open site where we have customers, where we have employees interact, questions come up. If you have a question with Alteryx, it's a great first place to start. There's loads of information and a really active community that you can work with to understand, you know, what potential problems Alteryx might be solving, or if you have a problem in your organization and you're wondering if Alteryx can help, community is a great place to start. The second part is we do have a free download and trial. So you can go to the website, download a 14-day trial. If you can't get it on your computer, we also have the ability to have a web-hosted trial. Give Alteryx a try. See if it can solve a problem. I mean, if you're working in Excel and doing VLOOKUPs, you are like my #1 fan, because you will absolutely love Alteryx. We will save you time. We will save you effort. I've talked to so many users that say, I do a VLOOKUP and then it crashes, but I have no idea what went wrong. How do I find it? What happened? Alteryx will make your day, trust me. The other area that I'd like to point out is we do have user groups. So our team, our partner, Team Computers, represents Alteryx for all of India. And they've created 3 user groups here in Asia Pacific. So we've got user groups in Bangalore, Delhi, and Mumbai. I think we're approaching above 60 to 70 people in these user groups, current customers. So if you're curious about Alteryx and how it can help, it's a great way to start. And then finally, thank you guys. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for listening to me. I appreciate your time. Please come see us out at the Team Computers booth. We'll be happy to answer any questions. So I have about 6 minutes left. I see we have some questions, so please go ahead. So Alteryx is licensed for a desktop user on a named user basis. All you need to do with all the stuff we talked about is a simple desktop license, and you can start up and running with it.
So it's more, how do we productionize it?
Sure. So Alteryx also has a server product. So you start on the desktop as you build up users, or if you want to schedule and run workflows on a server to have better performance, more memory, you can do that through Alteryx Server as well. Yes?
You mentioned on the along with data visualization like that. Is data visualization a part of this product? That is one. And second is, what is there in terms of the data science? Is it value to people in the Excel or the data science is completely different?
Sure, sure. I'll repeat the question. So are we like Tableau? Do we have data visualization in the tool as an output? The answer to that is no. We're not a data visualization tool. We do support outputs to Tableau, Click, and other partners. We do have some data visualization within the tool, but that's to help to guide you through the process. So if you're doing predictive analytic and you want a quick visual, that's what the analytics will do. Your second question was about data scientists. Are we looking to, maybe was it like compete with SAS or whatnot? Or, so the tool is really made for business users that understand data and analysis, right? So if you understand how to use, like what a linear regression does, but maybe you don't know how to code that in Python and R, Alteryx is the tool for you. Because we've done the work, we've done the coding. All you do is drag and drop it, and then choose your variables, and you'll get an output. So some data scientists use it for ease of use, but we're really focusing on the line of business user. Yes? Yes. Yes. Yeah, they're doing analysis on a daily basis to figure out basically what marketing campaigns they can go after. Like they will look at a show and they'll say, hey, we might need more support for this show. It's not selling out. So let's do a campaign on that to increase utilization to that show. Our partner, Abhishek from Team Computing, is doing a presentation tomorrow at 11:15 on the culture of analytics. He's going to dive into the Book My Show use case in more depth. Yes? Sure. So the question was around, does Alteryx help you control access to it? It can. So Alteryx has what we call a connect tool. And so what it does, think of it as like a social network for data sources. So if you're ready to do analysis, but you don't know what data to connect to get that analysis, Connect allows you to look at like a social network of, okay, you said that the best sales data for doing this type of analysis is located in this data source. And it kind of keeps an ongoing record of what data sources to use when you're doing analysis. Yep. More from like locking down, yeah. So we don't lock down the data because Alteryx doesn't persist data, but what you can do is lock down the workflows. You can lock them so they can't be changed. You can lock down when they can be run. You can lock down who has access to what workflows. If you have workflows in production, all that stuff can be done through Alteryx Server. Great. Yes? Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So it's up to you, yeah. So the question was around how does the data blending work within Alteryx? And so if you want to do data blending in memory, you can draw all the data in memory, do the blending in memory, and then push your output somewhere else. If you use one of our supported data sources for in-memory, then you would pick, like, say, your Hadoop cluster. You'd push all the data you want to do the data blending with and do that analysis within database. So you're not taking it in memory. You're utilizing the processing platform of that database. In database, we're limited to most of the cloud vendors. So, we'll do any Hadoop data source. We'll do stuff like Amazon Redshift, Snowflake, Greenplum, Oracle, Teradata, SQL in database. All that stuff is supported. You bet. Yes? Yeah. Yes, yeah. So if there's a series of tasks to be done that you're doing in Excel right now, if you run those tasks through Alteryx, you can automate it and you can schedule it so that next time you need an updated result, you click run and it will go back, query the data, append any changes, and then spit out the new updated data result. That's the ease of use, not having to do the same thing over and over in Excel. Yes? Sorry, I can't hear you. Yes. Yeah. So marketing analysis, things like omni-channel and things like that. Yeah, Alteryx has about 100 preset analytic tools all around different types of marketing analysis. So as long as you understand the analytics around that, you can run them and get results. Yeah. Great. I think I'm almost out of time, but go ahead. Okay. You love it, right? She loves Alteryx. She said it. I didn't pay her. I promise. Yeah. Okay, let's take it offline. Come see us at the booth, and we can go into more depth on that. Supply chain analysis and things like that. Appreciate the time and the questions, guys. Any others, come see us at the Team Computer booth. Thank you for your time.